Good evening, and thank you for your time today. I want to talk to you very briefly on the subject of the playbook, leadership as it relates to the game plan for mentorship and how the two of them work together, leadership and mentorship. How many of you know that every leader needs a playbook? I am of the belief that at the very heart of any leader or any level of leadership is mentorship. By the time I'm finished talking to you today, you will have a clear understanding of why I believe that. This playbook that I'm talking about, it was designed as a leadership tool that was developed from the teachings of my book, Realizing the Answer, Developing the Dreams of Tomorrow, Today, second edition. In it is my life story. And I break it down. I come from a level of adversity and take it all the way to rediscovering the joy that it takes to lead. I really want you to understand this because in this book or in this playbook, I feel that you have to have a game plan. See, I come from a sports background. I was a coach, and I coached football, baseball, but more importantly, I coached life. And as it relates to that, I have a very clear sports to life analogy. See, leaders design strategies. They adjust plays, and they invest in relationships. One of the very key ingredients to the nature of mentorship, I feel, is listening. And as it relates to relationships walk into our lives every single day. However, the key, I feel, to managing relationships to a level that they can be used to help one to succeed is being able to place the relationships in its proper categories. See, relationships must be respected for what it is, what they are. And people accept it for who they are. I truly, truly believe that relationships fall into either the category of assignment, advisor, associate, or a friend. The intelligence comes in knowing exactly where to place the categories in our lives to a level of its greatest effectiveness. For 20 plus years, I walked the walk with the athletes that I represented. See, I was an agent for 20 plus years, manager and mentor for life. And one thing I used to always tell any player that I represented, you were far more than just a player. you must be even a greater person. And I constantly told myself that I was more than a coach, meaning that we both and we all must go the extra mile. I remember a quote that I came up with from a New York Times best-selling book entitled Option B by Sheryl Sandberg. And it said to me, resilience comes from within us. As well as the support of those around us. And our stories, how many of you know that your gift in life is your story? But your stories reveal the capacity of the human spirit to allow us to persevere in light of any adversity in order for us to rediscover the joy. And see, as a sports agent or sports manager, whatever I did in the professional capacity to help others, I only did it to house a combination of objectives. And one of my main objectives has always been to help future leaders to be able to lead themselves. See, I was a show and tell type of guy. And I used that show and tell mentality in everything I did. It was very evident in my coaching style, whether I was coaching life or whether I was coaching the particular sport that I worked with. And I believed that I would rather walk the walk with my player before I could ever advise them on any of the necessities that came with being the high commodity player and the high paid player with so many different demands on their life constantly, all of the time. And I use that analogy to get to what I'm talking about today as it relates to developing a game plan for your life. See, a coach would not go into any game without a game plan, and neither should you. I always worked looking forward to the day that the individual that I was working with and as a professional I worked for would fire me or relieve me of my duties, because I know that the day that I was relieved, that was the day that for whatever reason they felt that they had enough from me to be able to lead their own lives and to lead themselves. And by firing me, it would free me up, because from time to time I get caught up, and I get caught up in the personal nature of what I was doing. I get attached. And unless they fire me, I probably wouldn't go anywhere. I'd stay right there. And as long as I have time on this earth, I want to be able to help others. And what better way to help them is than to help and encourage them to develop that game plan. That's how I came to reach the 4 cornerstones to develop the playbook. Are you still with me? I want you to stay with me because I'm going somewhere with this. The 4 cornerstones are vision. Vision, with visions, leaders see beyond the moment. And mentors help others to see potential. The second cornerstone is strategy. Leaders create game plans. Mentors, I don't know why I keep saying members. Mentors help guide others through the execution of those plans. Then we got resilience. Leaders bounce back from adversity. And October 20th, 1995 will stand out in my mind forever as my breakthrough in resilience, because that was when I was at my weakest point as it relates to adversity. I lost my nephew, who I was assigned to help guide and to help them to learn how to live. And he lost his life before he was 18 years old. What a failure I felt like. However, mentors teach perseverance. I could not lose sight of the overall plan that God had for my life. So as much as it hurt, I couldn't just stop there. I had to continue because the road to success called for it, even if I didn't see it. And fourth and final cornerstone of my playbook is relationships. Leaders build strong teams. How else can you put the right people around you if you don't place the relationships in its proper categories? And you never learn to respect the relationship for what it is. And you sure as hell couldn't accept people for who they are, because you would want them to live up to who you wanted them to be. There's a level of acceptance there. And mentors, how does mentor? I'm always giving you how mentors work as at the heart of leadership. But mentors invest in people. Now, as I get close to the end here, I want to pose 2 questions to you. I'm like I'm talking to my class now. Who mentored you? And who are you mentoring now? And if I was to give you a practical exercise for today, here it is. I want you to write a personal leadership plan. And I want you to think of someone who you feel would benefit most from that plan, and how that plan could help someone. I talked earlier about getting fired. One of the high-level athletes that I represented, when he came out of college, or when he was about to come out of college, he was one of the most productive college athletes we'd ever seen. He had won at every level. Every team that he played on was a winner. In fact, in his senior year, he led the nation in field goal percentage. I mean, he made far more shots than anyone else in the country. And he was a sure fit first round draft pick, or what we thought. However, he was not clear on the professional sports process. He didn't know how he was going to get, number one, to the NBA, or what it took to stay into the NBA. Because how many of you know that your playing ability isn't all that you need in order to create a career for yourself? And one of the biggest levels of advice that I gave him was, son, I want you to always be prepared. Have you an option B? See that book by Sheryl Sandberg, Facing Adversity, Building Resilience, Finding Joy at Your Weakest Point. And I wanted him to be prepared if he did not hear his name called on draft night. Fortunately for us, he did bring me on as his agent. And lo and behold, he was not drafted. He did not hear his name called in that NBA draft. But I had an option B already, a plan, a game plan for option B. And I was willing to walk with him through this option. And it came in a whole nother professional basketball league in another country that had growing notoriety on a daily basis. And he would not only be able to see the world in another part of the world that he'd never seen before, but he would also be able to build a career and build a life for himself that he probably would not have seen going through the different levels of adversity that came with not being a draft choice in the NBA. So he bought into my plan. And together, we went to the West Coast and we studied and learned what was necessary to be a high commodity in this new league that we talked about. And lo and behold, he was the number 6 overall pick in that draft that year. But better than that, he became an all-star player there. He became an all-everything player. He became a multi-millionaire. He applied and got dual citizenship, and became a husband, a father, and a key contributor to a brand new community and a brand new life. That in itself made me know that Mentorship was right there at the heart of every leader because he was a leader in every aspect of the word. And he believed, and he worked, and he persevered. And he too fired me at some point. But I say that to say, be the general manager of your life. Build your team. Develop the strategies for success. And base those strategies on self-responsibility, accountability, and vision. And always protect the vision that you create. That's my word. If you want a copy of the book, I'll make that available for you today. If you want to see the playbook in its essence, I have a few copies of those today. But even better than that, if you want to book me, if you want to bring me in for some advanced teaching and some extensive teaching on this playbook, which involves the game plan for life. See, all we talked about here was mentorship. There's every level of this game of life that we see involved in this playbook. You can do that. I'll make it easy for you to find me. Visit www.thegarydmore.com and you'll get all the information that you need. Thank you so much for your time. And I really, really, really want you to understand that at the heart of every leader is mentorship.